Hey there everybody, welcome to the video where we go into power chords. This is going to be our precursor to bar chords, so if you get this down it's going to help you out a lot in understanding and building up some strength for bar chords. Power chords are chords that move around the fretboard a lot to get different notes. We've almost exhausted all of the basic open chords that we can play, meaning that chords that have open strings with them. So we need to start being able to play more notes and more chords and all the things in between the chords we played. We need to be able to move around the neck. So if you haven't already read page 20 and 21, you need to do that, and you need to especially pay attention to the top of page 21 where you learn about the notes on the low E and A string. Those are going to be crucial to understanding power chords and bar chords. So if you need to pause and go do that, now would be the time to do that. Now we're going to take the close-up view here, and on that page you learned that obviously the open low E string is E. The third fret right here, and a lot of your guitars will have a dot on the side of the neck, like that dot. The third fret is a G. Now each of my other dots is A and B. We're going to go up to just the 7th, so 3, 5, and 7 on the low E is G, A, and B. Now if I skip over to the A and I go to the 3rd fret, that's C, D, and E. Say those with me. We've got G, A, B, and then skip over to the A string at the 3rd fret, C, D, and E. Now the reason that I like to learn those is because they're very easily identifiable where they are on the neck, and then that means if you know the open chords or open strings and the 3, 5, and 7, you are never more than a half step away from a note you know just cold. You can also, when you get up to E, that means that you can play a whole octave, E to E, meaning you can play every single note in between, and we've got all 12 notes. So really learn these. We're going to practice this a little bit. So find G sharp. I know that the 3rd fret of the E string is G. Sharp is 1/2 step up, so G sharp. How about F? Well, I know that E is open and that F is just a 1/2 step up from E. How about C? Well, I know C is the 3rd fret of the A string. What about B? B is 1/2 step down from C. So we've got the E to F and B to C. Those are those 2 spots that you really need to know that those are half steps. How about E flat? Well, I can't go any lower than my E here, right? So I need to go up to this E because I know C, D, E, and then a 1/2 step down for the flat. So E flat is at the 6th fret of my A string. So you've got to really quiz yourself on things like that. Now when we get into power chords, power chord is actually just a chord without the 3rd in it. Remember, chords have a root, 3rd, and 5th. We're just going to have the root and 5th and then double the root. So let's do it on the 5th fret. When I say on the 5th fret, it means I'm going to put my first finger on the low E of the 5th fret, and then I'm going to put my ring finger. My middle finger is not going to do anything. My ring finger is going to go on the 7th fret of the A string, and then my pinky is going to go right next to it on the 7th fret of the D string. And I'm just going to play those low strings. Okay? Now, what note are you playing with your first finger on the low E string? You're playing an A. We know that the 5th fret is an A. G, A, B. So the 5th fret is an A. With this shape, I know that my root is there on the low E string. So I've got, this is an A power chord. It's on the low E string, but because I'm at the 5th fret, I'm playing A. Remember, the root and the quality are 2 different things. So I know this is a power chord, that's the quality of it. I know that the root is on the 5th fret of the E string, so I know that this is an A power chord. Now, if I move it down to the 3rd fret, all I need to know is what note is that in my root on the low E string. And if you said G, you're right. So what kind of power chord is this? It's a G power chord. G is my root on the low E string. This shape gives me a power chord with the root on the low E string. So I know 3rd fret of the low E string is my G. Now I can move these all around. If I move them down to the 1st fret, we learned just a second ago that the 1st fret on the low E is just a half step up from E, which makes it F. So this is my F power chord. And then if I want to move over, and I'm going to use this same exact shape, but I'm going to move everything over one string. So let's go back up to the 5th fret where we started. So I was here on the A power chord. I'm going to just bring my everything over. So now my 1st finger is on the A string, my 3rd finger is on the D string, and my little finger is on the G string. I'm just going to play those 3. Now where do you suppose the root is when I play this? Well, if you said it's at the 5th fret of the A string, you're right, because when I move it over from the E string, this becomes the root. This is what I call an A form power chord. It's not an A chord, it's just that shape. It's the same shape as if I played A open, but now I'm up here. So what note is this right here? 5th fret of the D string should be D. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. 5th fret of the A string is D. So this is a, what kind of power chord? A D power chord, because my root is on the 5th fret of the A string. So play around, see if you can figure out what different ones. Remember, with these power chords I can play them with the root on the E string, or move everything over and play them with the root on the A string. All you need to know what power chord you're playing is where the root is. So if my root's at the 3rd fret of the A string, that's going to be a C power chord, because that's a C right there, and I know that this shape gives me a power chord. If you have any questions on this whatsoever, you need to ask about it, because if you don't understand this chord, by the time we get to bar chords, you'll be sunk. So play around with this. All you need to know is where is the root, and that the shape is the power chord shape. In this case, the shape is the same whether I've got my root on the E string or the A string. It's just moved over one. So there's a few exercises on the 2nd page in the book. You should probably go and do those. Make sure you really got this cold, and I'll see you in the next video where we talk about actual bar chords.